Hey guys, we're back. Been away for a while, busy lives, but we're back here. Trade deadline is in 6 days, April 12th, and it's done at 3 p.m. on the 12th. So we'll see what moves have been made. Matt and I are going to do a little bit of a preview show here. First off, Matt, how you doing?
I'm good. It's been good week. This is my favorite time of the year, the NHL trade deadline. We're gonna go through every player. We're gonna go through every team. So no matter what fan of any team you are, this video is for you. Click, share it with your friends. Josh, let's get it.
All right, first question, most important question. Trade deadline day. What channel are you watching, TSN or Sportsnet?
Well, to our American listeners, hopefully we have some because Columbus, I think we have a few Columbus people. It depends. I go back and forth depending on what guests they have, or I don't know. It doesn't matter. I'm just ready to go.
All right, let's do this. So NHL, it's a little weird this year, especially with the COVID restrictions. If a Canadian team wants an American player, obviously they got the quarantine. It is down from 14 to 7 days, so that does help. But it does affect, along with the flat salary cap, the climate of the market. Is it a buyer's market? Is it a seller's market? So we're going to start with what we think the market looks like this year. So in my opinion, I think it's a seller's market. I don't think many teams are going to be buying from other teams. Teams are going to be wanting to get rid of players and clear up cap space, save cash. Owners of these smaller teams that don't make much money aren't going to want contracts that they aren't using. So I think you're going to see a lot of movement at the deadline, but nothing huge. Like, I don't think you're going to be seeing teams like Boston reach out and say, oh, we'll take him, and him. It's going to be teams reaching out to these big clubs saying, hey, can you take these guys for like a conditional fifth or whatever? So I think we're going to see a lot of that. We're going to see a lot of small little moves that don't really make much sense to the common fan. But when you really look into it, it's like, oh, that player was actually making a lot of cash, but his salary cap was low. So I think you're going to be seeing moves like that. What about you?
I know where you're coming from, but I'm actually gonna have to disagree with you. I think there's just gonna be a lot of nice under the radar stuff. There's gonna be a lot of guys who can do a lot for very little. And what I mean by that is you look at Tampa Bay winning the cup. Barclay Goodrow and Blake Coleman, I don't think either of them made over $1 million, and they had 2 years. So I think people are just going to get really, really creative. And some of the trade bait board that we're going to read off definitely has those names of guys who I think can be high impact players, but for a low cost, if that makes any sense, or they just kind of fit in nicely on a roster. But I do understand what you mean. I definitely think there are going to be a lot of people looking to sell, create cash space, be more flexible, because we also have an expansion draft coming up. We'll definitely do a video for that. Quick little tease. But yeah, Josh, I think we should start reading the list of names that are potentially available.
For sure. So we're going to go off we each have our own lists. Everyone does a list. Sportsnet has one, The Athletic has one, TSN has one, NHL Network has one. We're just going to go off the TSN one because I believe it's the most commonly used one. So there's 35 names on here. Matt, do you want to start at 35 or do you want to start at like 25?
It doesn't matter. Whatever you want.
All right, I'll read 35 to 25 all at once. Then you tell me if any of those stick out, and then we can kind of move on from there.
Yeah, for sure. Go ahead.
So 35, Tony DeAngelo from the New York Rangers. 34, Darcy Kemper from Arizona. 33, Alexander Kerfoot from Toronto. I think he should be higher, actually. Jake Virtanen from Vancouver. Dmitry Kulikov from New Jersey. Jamie Oleski from Dallas. Sam Bennett from Calgary. Mark Stahl from Detroit. Marcus Sorosin from San Jose. Nikita Zadorov from Chicago. So that's 35 to 26. Do any of those names stand out to you? Why or why not?
Yeah, there's a few. I'll go with Sam Bennett and Jake Virtanen just off the top, because I think these two teams are obviously out. And I just think these are young guys with great value. They're both be RFAs, so you don't have to qualify them. So basically you can think of them as UFAs. And I just think they're both guys. I don't want to look back at their draft, but they have a lot of potential, or they had a lot of potential. And I think if you get them in the right fit and you channel them properly, you give them maybe 13 to 15 minutes, you find a good line that they can stick on, I think they'd be pretty good. I think those are two players that have definitely been mismanaged by the Canucks and the Flames, especially in recent memories and recent games even. So I honestly think if I'm a team, I would trade a fourth, a third. I'm not sure what the price would be for them, but I would definitely give some mid-round picks just to require the services for my playoff run.
Right. I'm looking at this board, right? And I try and be non-biased when we do these videos, but at heart, I'm a Leafs fan. I got the giant flag hanging up back there. And
show it off a little bit.
I don't want to fuck with the camera.
Okay, yeah.
But I look at this trade bait board and I'm looking at it as a Leafs fan. So some of these names on here, I'm like, I don't really want that. Why is it so high? And one of the names that's standing out to me right now is Darcy Kemper in Arizona. If I was making a trade bait board as a Leafs fan, he'd be pretty high, right? So I just kind of find that kind of funny about trade bait boards, kind of a side tangent. Yeah, but Alexander Kerfoot at 33, I think a lot of teams could use him. Toronto might want to hang on to him. Obviously, we got the expansion draft coming up, but 33 for Kerfoot, I think, is a little low. I think he's a nice. I don't think he's a cap dump. He's a trade chip, so he could be valuable in a trade where you're trying to get something back. He's a good. He's proven himself in the NHL. A manageable contract. I don't know why he's at 33. I think we might see him moved if Toronto tries to make a big splash.
Well, just to defend the list a little bit, I think he's probably low just because, like you said, he most likely will be a throw-in for Toronto. So if I'm Colorado and I want him back, I can't get him for a third-round draft pick because if I'm Toronto, why would I give him up for a third-round draft pick? No, I'm throwing him in a package for Ekholm and Granlund. I'm throwing him in a package for Hall. So I think he's low because it's not really him you're getting. It's you are getting him plus picks to give up something better. So maybe in that retrospect is why they put them so low. But just to touch on Darcy Kemper, because the Arizona Coyotes are shockingly in a playoff spot, and I had them finishing last. So apologies to Arizona.
That's okay. I had Buffalo making the playoffs. So.
Oh, that is brutal. That is absolutely brutal. Okay, yeah. So yeah, I think Arizona's going to keep him. I just think you look at those owners, as crazy as they are, they definitely want to win. I think he's a good, stable goalie. Maybe they give Ranta up instead, but I definitely think they'll ride out the tandem, try to get some playoff money, and just try to get a buzz back in that city and the fan base. So I think they'll keep Darcy Kemper. The only way I see you getting him is trading a first-round pick, maybe plus, because they need picks, but I don't think you're getting for a second, a fourth, and a prospect. I think you're going to have to swing for the fences and give up a first because his cap hit. He's a stable goalie. He's been this good for maybe 3 years, which is a pretty good track record relative to other guys that have been signed to big contracts like Demko. So I think Kemper's definitely a good option, but I don't see him moving. But that's very intriguing for the offseason or maybe just to go in the future.
Right. All right. Let's take a look at 25 to 20. So we got Tanner Pearson from Vancouver, Arturi Lehtinen from Montreal, Devin Dubnyk from San Jose, Derek Ryan from Calgary, and Ricardo Cal from Anaheim. And then number 20 is Ryan Dzingel from Ottawa. Any of those names stick out to you?
Yeah, right. I think there's some obvious names there that just kind of jump off, and Tanner Pearson and Ricardo Cal.
Yeah.
So fun fact, Josh was actually born in California, and he's low-key kind of a Ducks fan, I would say. Yeah, maybe just a little bit.
I was born in England.
Oh, sorry. He's lived in California. My bad. I should know that. But anyways, Ricardo Raquel, I think he's a really good player. The only problem is Anaheim, they struggle to score goals. They're not a good team, frankly. Like a lot of people make fun of Buffalo and Detroit and all these teams bottom. But when you look at the standings, Anaheim's right there. And if Buffalo gets hot like they're getting and Anaheim stays the same, they definitely overtake them.
They also just sent down Trevor Zegras back to the AHL because they want to transform it into a center. So he's going back to the AHL.
Oh, really?
With the San Diego Gulls, he's going to play some center there before coming back up near the end of the season. I thought it was a strange move to announce publicly, but
yeah, maybe that's just tanking. I would say like maybe the least subtle tanking because I watched his game a few nights ago and he looked like a stud. He's making passes with the puck. But anyways, going back to Ricardo Raquel, I personally would trade him. I don't know if Bob Murray would because he's kind of he waits. Like Josh Manson's been rumored to trade forever. Same with Raquel.
Yeah.
I just think Anaheim's kind of that franchise, which they just are. But anyways, I would definitely trade Raquel. And if I'm the Ducks, I want a first and a prospect because he's 3.7. If I retain some, that's for $1 million. And I don't think you get do the math roughly, 1.9, 1.7, whatever it is. So I just think getting a top six forward for this year and next year who makes that small of a number, if you're Boston, maybe Toronto, there's a few other teams around the league that could definitely use the services. But if I'm Anaheim, I would definitely start a first and a prospect, a B-level prospect, I would say.
Right. I'm looking at this list. Like, I like Raquel. You did a good job of explaining what you want for him. I love Tanner Pearson. I think he'd be a great fit on the Toronto team. I don't think you're going to get him. I think he's going to probably go to somewhere like Boston or Minnesota. But a name on here that kind of sticks out to me as why would anybody want this guy? And I don't think he's being moved because nobody would like him is Devin Dubnyk. 34 years old, 3.18 goals against average, 0.898 save percentage, 2.17, and he's UFA at the end of the year. If you need a goalie, you're not going after Devin Dubnyk. I just thought that was ridiculous placement on the list.
Yeah, San Jose.
They're terrible.
Yeah, we don't need to get into that, but yeah, I agree with you. I don't see much value in that, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's move on here. Let's go to 19 to let's go up to 13. 19 to 13. So Colin Miller out of Buffalo, Bobby Ryan from Detroit, Ryan Murray out of New Jersey, Vince Dunn from St. Louis, Alex Golowski. Fuck that one.
Goligoski.
Goligoski from Arizona, Brandon Montour out of Buffalo, and Chris Drieger out of Florida.
Yeah. So just to explain Chris Drieger a little bit, because they just signed Spencer Knight, who is a stud. He won a gold medal with USA.
He was. You know what? I gotta give Florida credit there with their goalie drafting, getting
That was
Spencer
a good pick. Yeah.
and who was the Canadian guy?
Oh, he goes to Northeastern and he's a computer science major, but I don't know his name. Devin Levi.
Devin Levi.
No,
yeah.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, Josh, you're definitely right. They have a good prospect pool, and Drieger's playing really good. But when you have a $10 million goalie, you kind of have to assess value. You want Spencer Knight to get games and some reps. So
yeah.
I agree with you. Like Dubnyk is bad, but Drieger is a good option. I could see him getting mid-round draft picks, but if I'm Florida, I might just keep him for this little run because I'm going against Tampa. They can score. Carolina, Svechnikov has been kind of iffy this year, but I think him, Teravainen, you have to look at that. And I just want a goalie because let's be honest, Knight's a rookie and Bobrovsky is kind of.
Bobrovsky is not consistent.
Yeah, we can say that. So definitely that makes sense. But another name that jumps out is Vince Dunn out of St. Louis.
Right.
And St. Louis has underachieved so much this year. I looked at their division. Everyone thought it would be them, Colorado, and Vegas that just run away with it. That's not the case. St. Louis has fallen off a bit. I just think Vince Dunn hasn't got a lot of minutes this year, but he's definitely somebody I could see going to a team and becoming a really good top 4 defenseman for the next 5 to 8 years. Like, I really like this kid. He has swagger. He's really good with the puck. He moves the puck, left-hand defenseman, which is not as valued as right-hand defenseman. But I think he would be a good trade chip, especially because the expansion draft, if you're St. Louis, what are you going to do? Lose him for free? So I think there's definitely some stuff you got to value there. But if I'm a team, I would be all over Vince Dunn. I think it's very interesting.
Yeah, I just want to expand on what you said about Florida's goaltending situation. I think they would be silly to get rid of Chris Drieger. I'm just looking at Bobrovsky's playoff stats. You know, in 2010, 2011, he had an 8.77, 3.23 goals against. 2011, 2012, a .722. You know, his highest save percentage was in 2018, 2019 for Columbus, and that was a .925. So he's not consistent in playoffs. He doesn't play well in the playoffs.
You want 3 good goalies. I think that's where the league is.
You're probably going to have to hang on to Drieger there unless the price is, really high. Then go for it. Go nuts. I like what you said about Vince Dunn. That's a good one. I think Bobby Ryan could be a sneaky pickup. I would suggest him for a team like Toronto who needs some more, they want that playoff experience, but I think they kind of have that already. You got Spezza, Simmons.
Yeah, we have old guys.
Muzzin, Bogosian. I think you're okay there. Maybe he would be Boston or Montreal stands out to me for Bobby Ryan. Although Montreal
should not be buying.
Yeah, I know, but Bobby Ryan in Montreal would be a nice story, I think.
Yeah, that's true.
I think everybody else fits nicely on this list. Colin Miller is going to be an interesting one, right-handed D out of Buffalo. See what they do with him. I think Buffalo is going to give away more than they need to. But
I'll give it all away, to be honest with you.
I'd burn it to the ground. But I don't know how much they're actually going to they're either going to do a lot or nothing.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. I just think you got to get what you can for these UFAs.
Yeah.
Get as many picks, prospects, and just kind of build with the future around Dolly and Cousins and that crew. We actually did a Buffalo breakdown video. Go on our YouTube channel and you guys would definitely see it. But Josh, you can read off the top 12, and I think we should talk about all these guys individually because there's some pretty good stuff here, I should say.
Yeah, let's start with 12. We'll talk about it, and I'll go to 11, so on and so forth. So number 12 is Chicago's cap space. Now, I hate when they do this on the list because they don't actually list a fucking player. It's on here twice. Number 8 is another one, which I'm going to yell about. But yeah, number 12, Chicago's cap space. What value does that have, Matt?
You know what? I just look at it as in Chicago, and I think Taze has been out, Doc has been out. We're kind of playing with house money that we're not as bad as everyone thought. Mm-hmm. So I would save the cap space for the summer and then sign someone that I can have for multiple years and actually build with around my young guys. Maybe it's an offer sheet. You never know.
Right.
I definitely think there's better ways to weaponize your cap space than on a playoff run that realistically you're going to get slapped in the first round if you make it. So I do think that should be saved for the offseason to build around your younger guys, I would say.
So the Blackhawks are 2 points out of a playoff spot to behind Nashville, who suddenly snuck back in.
Yeah.
Both have 39 games played, so that'll be interesting. However, the Stars are right behind both teams with 3 games at hand. So we'll see how that's going to be an interesting race. Actually, I wasn't aware that was that close. Yeah, Chicago cap space. We'll see
Whatever. Let's go to the next one.
Yeah, that one wasn't that fun. So at number, where did I go here? At number
9.
11.
Oh,
11. Number 11, we have Josh Manson.
yeah. We both know the Ducks well. They're a very interesting team when you look at them. I just personally think we already mentioned Raquel. Now we're mentioning Manson. And I honestly believe you could get a haul for these guys because I'm trying to look it up right now via Cap Friendly. And yeah, I was correct. They both have 2 years left. Josh Manson makes 4.1 and Raquel has the 3.7, which I already said you could retain. And I just think if you package them together,
you could get a haul
to a Boston or a Toronto, that's a first, another conditional second that probably could become a first and a B+ prospect. I think you should get so much that you can surround Zegras and Drysdale with.
Yeah.
So like you're set up for the next 10 years. But like, honestly, if I was an owner, I would be so upset at GMs, especially Bob Murray, Doug Wilson, San Jose, that I think they're there so long. They grow an attachment to these guys because they drafted them. They've been there forever and they want to see them succeed. But realistically, you need to cut ties with these guys to build around your young core coming up. Because when me and you mentioned their core, other than maybe Maxime Comtois, sorry, I butchered that name. But yeah, he captained the World Juniors a few years ago. Jamie Drysdale, Trevor Zegras, you don't really have much, do you? So do you want to be bad? Do you want to be bad for an extra 2 years to get more top 5 picks? Or do you want to just be bad for 1 year this year, get another top 5 pick and whatever you acquired via these trades? So if I was Anaheim, I would sell those guys like no one's business and I would try to get a haul for them, like you said.
So if you're Toronto, what do you offer Anaheim for both those guys in a package?
Honestly, like I said, if you make the cap work and you retain, I'm willing to go a first, Kerfoot, and honestly, maybe Sandin. Not Robertson, because I really like him, but I would definitely go Rasmus Sandin.
If I'm Anaheim, I want Robertson because he would be sick on the wing with Zegras.
Okay, I would think about giving up Robertson, but then I'm not giving up a first because I think that damages my prospect pool so much. So if I'm giving up Robertson, I have to give Kerfoot for a cap, like you said. I'll go Robertson, Kerfoot, a second, and maybe like a fourth. Like, you know what I'm trying to say? Just kind of balance out the value. Because I don't think any team should completely destroy their prospect pool, but I think you should give up enough of your future to make it enticing for Anaheim.
Yeah.
But that's definitely a good situation to monitor. And if Anaheim does nothing, the next day when we record the podcast, I will yell and scream about it because I think that'd be a mistake.
All right, at number 10, we have a guy who I don't think is going anywhere now because the aforementioned Nashville Predators are now in a playoff spot and they're going to have false hope. Matthias Ekholm, I don't think he's going anywhere, man. Nashville's going to be dreaming about a playoff spot. They're going to keep this guy.
You think he should? I think that's a better question.
He should be traded. I don't think Nashville's going to pull the trigger.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, Josh, especially because David Poile didn't really want to admit this in the offseason, but I think this is a team that was hit really hard by the pandemic in terms of money. And they have some big contracts that just make you want to, like Johansson, Duchesne. Josh, maybe you can find them and read some more. But I just think if you're Nashville, if the pandemic is really that bad and this playoff berth would really help you, because I think Nashville, they have capacity, so fans would be allowed back in the barn. So I definitely understand if you want to keep them, but you should revisit in the offseason. And also, I think it's very easy for us to say trade this guy, especially what we did Raquel but Manson. But I think that's different because I know you can get a haul. But what do you think you could get for Ekholm? Because if someone just offered me a second and a prospect, I would say no, and I would just stay pat because I personally think he's a good enough player where I should be getting a first, maybe plus, or a really good prospect in the second. So I'm not gonna panic in the last few minutes and trade him for value that's not really beneficial to my franchise.
I think it comes down to what Nashville, like if they want to trade him, then his value is going to be lower to Nashville. But if they want to hold on to him, the value is higher, right? Like if they're saying, if teams are interested in him, but Nashville's saying, well, we're going to hang on to him now because we're making this playoff push, but then a team turns around and says, well, you know what, here's 2 firsts or whatever. Nashville will do that.
Oh, I'd pull the trigger for 2
I'm not
firsts,
saying you should. That'd be a stupid trade, but like that's perceived value by the GM of the Predators. So it's like that's why I don't think he's going anywhere, because I think Nashville's going to be thinking,
let's just go for it.
Let's just go for it.
Or stay pat. Maybe not go for it. Stay pat, I think, is better.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what happens there. I wouldn't be shocked either way if he moves or doesn't move. Let's move on to number 9. We got Scott Lawton out of Philly. I'm going to let you take this one. I don't know too much about this.
Yeah, I know a lot about this, actually. So I met Scott Lawton's dad at a Tim Hortons, which is funny because he is from Oakville, Ontario. But Josh, it gets better. I knew he was his dad because he was wearing a Scott Lawton jersey.
Yeah, no one else wears that.
I honestly would love to know, get NHL.com, Philadelphia Flyers, how many Scott Lawton jerseys did they sell? I'm going to go under, 5,000? That's probably even too much. Like, how many do you honestly think? That's way too high, yeah. Probably a few hundred, yeah, who knows? Anyways, yeah, so Philly's in a very interesting position. Just are they good or not good? But I personally just think Carter Hart took a little step back, and I count on him to bounce back. I just think it's part of the process. I know they don't want to hear it because Claude Giroux and Voracek have been there forever. But I look at their young guys like Provorov, Konecny. I think you got to just stay pat and relax. But anyways, Scott Lawton, it is because he's due for a raise. He is the heart and soul of Philly. He likes Philly. But, like, I think I saw American Friedman project his contracts on one of their podcasts. And it was insane. It was way too much money. And if you're Philly, you already signed Kevin Hayes and Reemsdyke, which they have given you some value. But that's a lot of money tied up to $14 million just in those guys, if you know what I'm kind of trying to say. So I kind of do see him moving because I do think a team like Boston or maybe even the Leafs, who do want that kind of physical...
Everyone on this list is going to the Leafs, in our opinion.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, we're Leaf fans, just if people didn't know. But anyways, yeah. So maybe you do trade him for some picks, but I'm not really too sure there. We can move on to something you probably yell about.
Toronto's top prospect is number 8 on the list. I mean, yeah, but like TSN here, let's name a prospect.
Yeah, you literally could have just put the prospects.
Or yeah, like I don't like put like Robertson / Sandin or something / Liljegren. I don't care. Like
you sound like a moron just saying Toronto's top prospects.
Yeah, like yes, it's obvious Toronto's top prospect is in play. Dubas said it would be if they could bring in a big haul. This one's a no-brainer, guys. If Toronto wants to make a big splash, they are going to have to give up a big prospect. I think with Dubas's recent comments saying Sandin and Robertson are going to be seeing time on the club, and they do see their impact of the team being big in the future. I don't think we're seeing them move, but you look at like Liljegren, I mean, maybe Adam Brooks. There's a couple other guys coming up.
I think it's Liljegren he's pointing at. I think they're a little frustrated with his development, to be honest.
Could SDA be moved? I don't think they really know what they have in him yet.
It's not a top prospect.
I think it'd be too early. Yeah, we'll see. But Toronto's top prospect, number 8 on the board.
Yeah, so just going up on the board, a few of these guys are on the same teams. We're just talking about their teams collectively, but Granlund, I definitely think should be moved from out of Nashville. Yeah. Just because everything we said about Ekholm, you could throw Ryan Ellis, because I've heard rumors, they are under contract for next year. So they're not going to walk away for nothing. But Granlund could walk away for nothing.
Yeah.
Therefore, I think you do need picks just because, I don't know, I just see the value there. And I think as good a player is Granlund, maybe give a younger player like Eli Tolvanen, I think his name is, or just give other guys chances. You know what I'm trying to say? Because I think this is a UFA who you won't re-sign. So I definitely would give picks, would want to acquire picks, maybe a second and a fourth, a third and a fifth, a prospect, whatever it is. But I definitely would sell Granlund if I'm David Poile in Nashville.
Yeah, I would too. Teams will be interested in him. I don't know. I for some reason, I just don't want to touch Nashville with a 5-foot pole. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what number are we at here? Number 6 and number 5 on the list, both from Detroit. We got Luke Glendening and Jonathan Bernier. I don't know if it's me, Matt, or if this is an actual thing, but I feel like Glendening's on the list every year.
He is. Detroit, I don't know. Yeah. With Stevie Y running the show, he'll definitely be gone, but Ken Holland always used to dangle him.
Yeah. I think Bernier could be a real asset to a team, right? Like, let's say, fuck it, let's use Toronto as an example. Anderson can't
pick another example.
No, but it's perfect. It's
Oh
perfect.
yeah. Go ahead.
Anderson can't come back because he's injured. We don't know what's going on there. Campbell becomes your starter. I think Bernier is a nice backup instead of Hutchinson. I mean, Hutchinson's played well, but then you have 3 goalies who are capable of taking NHL minutes. You don't know what you have in Vela Vinen or whatever his name is. So then you go Campbell, Bernier, Hutcher, Campbell, Hutch, Bernier. It's not bad.
Yeah, I agree with you. I just looked at this list and everything we've talked about, and I see these two, and it's just how on earth did they get to 5 and 6? No offense, but like you said, Bernier, backup goalie.
Yeah, they're
Luke
valuable.
Glendening is a bottom 6 forward. So yeah, I guess they're valuable. Maybe you, like we said, package them together so you get more. But I just think this is Steve Yzerman working magic, because no one coming into the season would say you could get a haul or they would be in the top 5 or 6.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it's funny. So I think Detroit's playing with house money. Get whatever you can. Like, I would kind of fake negotiate. So if someone said like a 3rd and a 5th, I'd be like, no, I need a 2nd. And in my mind, it's like, oh, I'm going to take the 3rd and the 5th regardless, because I just get whatever I want. But yeah, Detroit's working magic. They have to sell off some stuff. So I definitely understand why it's them too. But should we move on Palmieri and Hall, then the 2 Columbus guys? What do you want to do? Let's save Columbus so we can talk about Torts and Lonnie.
Yeah, so we're gonna skip 4 and number 4. Let's jump to number 3. I think this guy should be number 1, but Taylor Hall out of Buffalo. I think any team he goes to that's not named the Sabres, or any team he's on that's not named the Sabres, he's going to contribute. I don't know where he's going to go. I think like top 3 possible teams. I think he could end up in Boston. I think he could end up in Edmonton, and I think he might end up in Toronto. Those are 3 teams who are going to want to make a splash. I can't see anywhere else that can afford him just because of the cash he's making this year, right? Like when he comes over, you're going to have to be paying $4 million. Buffalo's got to keep half in this deal. That's the only
thing. 100%, yeah.
What is he worth? He's worth what Buffalo asks for. Right? Because you're going to have other teams coming to pay that little extra for him. Will he be an impact player? Again, I don't think he's going to be a guy who you can rely on in the playoffs, but he's going to be a guy who will contribute in the playoffs. And all you got to do is take a look at what Tampa Bay did last year with Gaudreau. So,
I think, I understand what you're saying. I think this is so interesting in terms of, we do know he's going to get traded. You will retain a half. So I think a lot of this deal is already kind of done.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of teams that are interested, I would definitely go Toronto, Colorado, Boston. I just think teams that want to go for it this year, for whatever reason.
An interesting one.
Yeah, I just know because Colorado tried to sign him, and I think their final offer was 1 year at 4.5. So if you do the 1 year for $4 million, that's practically what you would have signed him for all those months in the offseason. But I think if I'm Taylor Hall, he isn't playing today, which I think is an amazing decision. If I was him, I would have shut it down 2 weeks ago.
I would have shut it down like mid-January.
Yeah, I would have shut it. Yeah, I would have shut it down a little. Yeah. So he should definitely get his bags packed. I definitely think this is a very valuable player because we have seen him win an MVP, regardless if you think McDavid should have got this year. He's played at that level where you thought, oh my God, he's one of the best players in the league. You know what I mean? It's definitely not gone his way the last few years, but like he's been in Buffalo and Arizona and New Jersey. I don't think you could pick teams that have been as poorly run in the last recent memory than those franchises. So I definitely see him getting moved. If I'm Buffalo, I don't want to panic because what I heard is there's no first and a prospect anymore. It's like a second and a better prospect or something like that. But if I'm Buffalo, I would honestly, like I said, I would offload him, Colin Miller, Montadors, all the guys I have, and just get as many assets as I can.
Yeah.
So if I'm Buffalo, I would put a condition on the pick. If you don't want to give me a second, maybe you win a few rounds as a first. But if I'm Buffalo, I do want to strike in the first round pick range, maybe another prospect. I definitely don't want roster players because regardless of what Buffalo does, they're going to be bad for a while.
Yeah.
So definitely just as much prospects and picks as you can in this scenario. Okay.
Yeah,
Kyle Palmieri.
Yep. I agree with that. Yeah, Kyle. Sure. Number 2, Kyle Palmieri. Nice little player. I don't know if New Jersey would retain half. He's making 4.65. He's UFA at the end of the year. He's been linked to the same usual suspects: Toronto, Colorado, Montreal. Not Montreal. Toronto, Colorado, Boston. He's got 8 goals, 17 points. Could add some value. I don't know how he's higher than Taylor Hall, to be honest, but
I think it's just because levels of buyers. Because I know you said that he doesn't have to retain, But just say the 4.6 they do retain. That's an absurd amount of value for a player making that cap hit.
But like,
You know what I'm trying to say?
What are you paying to get him?
I think it's not as much as Taylor Hall because I think Buffalo's under so much pressure to fleece someone for all the guys they have. But if I'm New Jersey, I already kind of have a core with Hischer, Hughes. Who are the other guys? They picked Holtz. They have Ty Smith on defense. They have some guys, and they're starting to cook and build a nice core.
Mackenzie Blackwood's looking pretty good.
Oh, yeah, they have a good goalie in Blackwood. So I have pieces, so I don't need the piece. Buffalo needs every piece. You know what I mean? Yeah. So if I'm New Jersey, a second and a prospect is totally fine with me, or a third, but a better prospect. But I would put the price as a second and a B-level prospect if I'm New Jersey. And let me explain B-level prospects. I've thrown that out there. It's a guy who probably will make the NHL, a top 9 forward or maybe a top 6 D. He has value. He's probably picked in the second or third round, maybe a late developer, but he can benefit to your franchise. A-plus is the guy, the superstar. Like I would put like Cole Perfetti, those kind of people as A-plus prospect. But anyways, yeah, if I'm New Jersey, I'd set it as second and a prospect. And I definitely think if I'm Boston, I would 100% be all over that because I probably could re-sign him because I don't think he's going to be looking for a big ticket just because of his age and he has made money. And just in this economy in the NHL, I don't think he could be 30 and ask for more than 4 or 5 million or more than 3 or 4 years. So
teams aren't going to pay him that either.
Yeah, exactly. So I definitely think Kyle Palmieri is very attractive to guys. He's been in the league longer. It feels like he's been in the league forever. He's played in the playoffs. He's played on some good teams. He's had that culture in Anaheim. Like, you know what I'm trying to say with Getzlaf Perry. I just feel like he's seen it all. So I definitely would have him. I value him as a player, I would say.
Nick Foligno and David Savard are number 1 and number 4, respectively. What do we think about this?
This is so funny just because Columbus, I feel like, has been in the news so much this year for all, maybe not bad, but odd reasons. Actually, you know what? We'll say bad. We'll definitely say bad reasons. We did a Columbus episode. Go check that out. But yeah, in terms of those two players, if I'm Columbus, I would definitely sell. They're not in playoff striking range. And even if they were, I don't care. Because I just think Columbus, they never have people who are on their team for a long time and who benefit and thrive that are actually good players. So I think Foligno, Savard, they're both UFAs. Retain half on both of them. Maybe pair them up. Maybe you don't. Try to get as much as you can. Go from there and establish a core. But if I'm Columbus, I'm trading those two. I'm letting Torts go at the end of this year. You need a culture change. I think it's very hard to have a culture change when you keep your 2 veterans that I don't want to say they're Torts guys, but they've been there for so long. You assume they're Torts guys. You can't re-sign them, and a lot of people like them because Nick Foligno can play left wing and right wing. He can play as high up in your lineup or as low as you need him to. He's been there, like I said, done it before. And Dennis Savard is not he's not very far removed off from being a high impact player in the league. I think he'd be good. And I definitely think he could slide really nicely to teams that are trying to go for it. So yeah, if I'm Columbus, I'm trading both of them. I think Columbus needs to form an identity and keep some of their star players. So
which they can never do.
They can never do. So Josh, what do you think about those two?
Yeah, I wouldn't touch Nick Foligno with a 10-foot pole. I'm interested in David Savard. I think it'd be a nice fit on a blue line that needs a little bit more help in case someone goes down. Not too much more to say there. Like, I'm more interested by like numbers like 15 to 8 on this list than I am the top 8, because like from number 8 to number 1, it's kind of obvious that these guys are going to get traded. But I look down, I'm like, oh, these are nice depth guys. Where are they going to go? What are these teams going to do? So whenever I see like a move that's going to be made that's really obvious, it's kind of like, okay, yeah, well, we all saw that coming. But I want to see, like, I don't know, like, surprise me this trade deadline. I like when I'm surprised. And for God's sake, please make trades, because I'm going to be watching all day. Make trades.
Yeah, I agree with you. I just think the names, like I was said, like a Vince Dunn, a Bennett, Virtanen, like maybe the younger guys, Scott Lawton, that might have value and that didn't really get the opportunities in their franchises. Maybe there's a diamond in the rough in this list. Not sure. But Josh, you want to go through the contenders and the heavy buyers that you think will be in play in the market?
Yeah, let's just do it quickly. Let's name 3 teams. So I'll name my 3 teams that I think are going to be buying heavy, and you can do the same thing. I have a feeling we're going to have the same teams. I think Boston's buying heavy. I think Colorado's buying heavy. And I think Toronto's buying heavy. My sleeper pick at the deadline is the Rangers.
Really? You think they're going to go on a little run here?
Yeah, I think they're gonna acquire some players, like some depth guys, and try and make a run for it.
Okay, so I'll pick different teams just to keep it interesting. I'm gonna go with the Islanders. As much as I hate them, being a Leafs fan, and the Rangers are my second team, I hate the Islanders. But I think when you lose a player like Anders Lee, and you can put that on LTIR, and Lou Lamoriello's your GM, I think you're gonna go for it. I firmly do. So I could definitely see Hall, Paul Mary, or maybe a high impact forward going there. And I think the Islanders are gonna say screw it and just completely trade picks and prospects. And I don't really blame them because I just think
Paul to the Islanders is interesting.
yeah, so I just think for the Islanders, everyone's always said you're not this good, you're not this good. But it's been like what 2-3 years of us saying that. Eventually, you have to be like, hey, we're always at the top of the standings. Let's just say screw it. Let's see what we can do. And I don't want to say Washington, Pittsburgh are pretenders, but I definitely think I could see the Islanders beating all their teams, even Boston. I think the Islanders could come out of their division. So I would definitely go if I was the Islanders. And another team, a Canadian team, is Winnipeg. I just think you look at Winnipeg. I think their forwards are set. I think their goalies are set. They just need that defenseman to help out Josh Morrissey, Neil Pionk. So I could see them, if a team's overpaying for Ekholm or Savard, I could definitely see it being Winnipeg. And I think they have such a good prospect pool with Perfetti. Really, they have the Finnish defenseman. I don't know what to say his name. But anyways, they have a pool. So I think them trading a first, like, it's completely fine. So I think they will trade a first plus. So I'll go Winnipeg, and then I'll just do a team in each division. And then in the Discover Central, I'll go Florida, just because I think they're hilarious. They're 26-9-4. They have 2-point lead on Tampa, but Tampa has a game in hand. So I just think if you're Florida, you're going to say, you know what? Barkov's a UFA soon. Huberdeau's a UFA soon. We got to do something with this team.
They got some cap space now, too, because Ekblad's out.
Exactly. So, like, I think they're playing with house money here. So maybe they go crazy. Carolina might go crazy because we all know their owner and just kind of how they think as a management group. And they did the Vincent Trocheck trade last year, which caught everybody by surprise. So I think I could see Carolina, doing something like that. And the last division, the Honda West. I'll just go with Vegas. I don't even know if they have cap space, but I think they're insane.
They always do something. And you know what's dumb? They always do something. You know what's dumb? I remember this the other day. They're exempt from the expansion draft.
Exactly, because that's so funny looking how good they are. Because everyone thought they'd still be like where Ottawa and Detroit is. Just thinking about it.
I thought they'd be terrible.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm looking at it right now, and like they do not have cap space. It says they have 41,000. So
is that their daily cap hit though?
I have no idea what it is. It doesn't matter. I just think they're always in it. I could see them trading their whole roster for a superstar. That's what they do. So I'll just throw Vegas in. But yeah, it's kind of all I have to say. And I think we did a pretty good job this episode.
Yeah, this was fun. What are we doing Monday? Are we gonna go? We'll figure it out, I guess.
Yeah. So to all these new listeners, this was the Orient Sportscast. This is our YouTube channel. We're Leaf fans, but we talk about everything. So follow our Instagram page. Josh will put that in. Just literally like us. Yep, in the bio. Yeah, we'll tweet this podcast out. Leave a comment. It could be mean. It could be nasty. We do not care. Do your thing. And yep, see you. And hopefully listen to our podcast going forward.
John Tavares did not meet with the Montreal Canadiens in the offseason.